Let's bring in Atlantic Council non-resident senior fellow, former ambassador-at-large Nathan Sales, and the foreign desk editor-in-chief Lisa Daftari. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
So from Steve Witkoff on X, Hamas does not appear to be coordinated or acting in good faith. We will now consider alternative options to bring the hostages home and try to create a more stable environment for the people of Gaza. It is a shame that Hamas has acted in this selfish way. Do you agree, Lisa?
You know, if with all the years of policy and strategy experience I have, my reaction to this was duh. You know, negotiations and diplomacy will work with a political enemy. They will not work with an ideological enemy. We are dealing with terrorists. We're dealing with someone who believes that if you die in the line of killing Jewish people, you will become a shaheed, a martyr. When you're dealing with this kind of society, when you're dealing with a non-state actor such as Hamas, you're not going to get any resolution with diplomacy. But look, from the beginning, the Trump administration put all tools and all negotiation tools, all diplomacy tools on the table. And now he's saying, we're not going to let you play out the clock. We're going to go to the next tool that we have, which is force. And we will end this war. We will allow Israel to finish the job.
From Prime Minister Netanyahu, Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, got it right. Hamas is the obstacle to a hostage release deal. Together with our U.S. allies, we are now considering alternative options to bring our hostages home, end Hamas's terror rule, and secure lasting peace for Israel and our region. Ambassador, based on your experience, what's the next move?
You got to use sticks because Hamas doesn't respond to carrots. These are bloodthirsty terrorists, and nobody should be surprised by the fact that talks have broken down and the responsibility lies entirely on Hamas's shoulders. This war could be over today. If Hamas wants the war to end, they could end it today, and it's simple. Turn over the hostages, and leadership of Hamas goes into exile, opening the door to a new future for the people of Gaza. The fact that Hamas continues to say no, the fact that they continue to fight tells us everything we need to know about their priorities. And it's simple. Kill as many Jews as possible, cling desperately to power, and continue to immiserate the long-suffering Palestinian people. What comes next? They're not going to come to the table because they've had, if you'll forgive the phrase, a come-to-Jesus moment. They're going to come to the table if they think it's the only alternative they have. So more force, unfortunately, is in the cards.
Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is accusing Israeli forces of killing Palestinians. Let's play it.
Now, Israeli forces are deliberately shooting and starving Palestinians lining up for food. Over 1,000 murdered in the past 2 months alone, according to the UN. The so-called Gaza, quote, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a joke, inhumane, immoral. It's a deadly sham, a trap backed by the Israeli government and the Trump administration.
What's your assessment, Lisa?
You know, it's so unfortunate when, again, you're dealing with the Palestinian people are suffering. They absolutely are. But why are they suffering? That's the question no one's asking. It's because of Hamas. They have had no proper leadership. Leadership that will steal the aid. Leadership that will kill any protester who dares to speak out. And this has been for years has been the case. And of course, that wants to multiply the death toll in order to win the propaganda war. They have had multiple chances at statehood, and they have rejected every offer. Remember, the precursor to the Abraham Accords was the Peace Through Prosperity Plan, where the first Trump administration offered the Palestinians north of $50 billion to inject into their private and public assets to beef up the Palestinians' chance at life. And they said no to that as well. Why did they say no to all these different options? Because the only prerequisite would be for them to acknowledge the Israelis' right to have a state. And they said no to that. So again, we're dealing with an ideology that has no remorse, not on the Israelis and not on their own people. We cannot give them a chance. We cannot give them a state. We cannot give them any chance to. And for her to be in the halls of Congress, does she realize that she's working for America and she is a representative in the United States, not to tout and to support a terror organization?
There are concerns about food aid not getting through to civilians in harm's way. Let's play this clip.
I want to empathize. Israel does not limit the number of trucks entering the Gaza Strip. And it is the collection issue that is preventing continuous delivery of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Despite the clear facts you can see behind me, Hamas is running a deliberate and false propaganda campaign.
Hungry children is a bad visual in the PR war, Ambassador. What about that?
Absolutely. And, you know, any feeling human being is going to look at these images and feel horror. at the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza. But we need to be clear about why they're suffering and who's responsible for that suffering. And it all comes down to Hamas. Hamas, again, they could end the war today if they chose to. Every person that is starving because Hamas would rather fight than give up. Every person who is dying in crossfire as a civilian casualty is dying because Hamas is hiding behind them and putting these civilians in harm's way. Do we need to do more? Absolutely. And I'm glad that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is there on the ground getting food in, because they're delivering needed assistance directly to the Palestinian people, not the way the UN does it. When the UN goes in, thoroughly corrupt organizations, they're working hand in glove with Hamas. And guess what? Hamas is taking as much as they can get out of those trucks. You see starving civilians, you don't see that many starving terrorists. Those guys aren't skipping too many meals.
Ambassador, Lisa, thank you very much for your strong analysis tonight.